Good morning, everyone, and welcome into another edition of WST Sunday Live. My name is Connor Hrabchak, soon to be joined by my co-host, Lyss Houde, and we've got a big show today. The Jets coming off of a bounce-back win, 5-3 over the Calgary Flames on Friday night, and they have a big test today. Down at Canada Life Center, the Utah Mammoth are in town. Now, I've said many times on this program and on post-game reactions that Utah might be my favorite team to watch in the league right now. That's because they're winning, and a lot. They've got 5 straight wins. They're 6 straight wins, and they're 7-2-0 to begin their season. And they just went into Minnesota last night and defeated the Wild 6-2. Logan Cooley's one of the hottest players in the NHL right now. He's got like 5 goals in his last 2 games. It's going to be a great game tonight down at Canada Life Center at 5 o'clock. Jets versus Mammoth. But we're going to start with breaking down our thoughts on the Jets bouncing back with a win over the Calgary Flames on Friday. So thank you everyone for joining us on this bright and early Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Let's bring in my co-host, Lyss Houde. Lyss, I know we were both at the game covering it Friday. How are you doing this Sunday morning?
I'm doing well. It was a blast on Friday. Obviously, if anyone follows me on Twitter, you'll know. And also just knowing who I am as a person, that I was probably kind of interested in that Jays game that was going on at that time.
Just a little.
So it was a very fun kind of like community atmosphere too, where it's like, I don't know whether it's we've gotten used to the hockey atmosphere or it's just kind of implied because obviously everyone who's in that building has a reason to be there that pertains to hockey. Mm-hmm. But it was kind of cool to have this like a secret third thing that everyone else is kind of like talking about and we're all chatting about it. Everyone's got it on phones and laptops and whatever. And so kind of added a little bit to it, which at the beginning of the game was really good because I wasn't overly interested in the hockey game to start. And like, obviously I'm always interested because it's Winnipeg Jets hockey and, you know, we wouldn't be here if we weren't, but the second period had so much fun going on in it. And it kind of brought the life to a Friday night game that I was hoping that it would have. So I had a blast on Friday. How about you?
Yes, I did it as well. And as I remember saying, like, that Seattle game on Thursday was dark. That was maybe the least entertaining Jets game of the season so far. And the first period against Calgary, I don't want to say was not entertaining, but it was a continuation of that Thursday night game against Seattle, I'd say. And then the second period, just so much was happening. The Jays were going off in their sixth inning run with 9 runs in that inning. The Jets scored 4 goals in the second period as well. So a lot happened. And the Bombers played yesterday. I see some people commenting on that in chat as well. I was at the game. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about the Blue Jays and the Bombers to wrap the show today. Just give our quick final thoughts. But Lyss, another thing that I didn't mention off the top, Chud's Power Sports Power Poll. We've done one every week. Thank you to Chud's for sponsoring this episode and the Power Poll. Today we're ranking our top 5 goals from the Jets game on Friday night. Lyss and I were saying there's not many times that there's going to be exactly 5 goals the game before we do WST Sunday Live. So why not make it our top 5 favorite goals from the Jets 5-3 win over Calgary? And let's start today's show right there with the win over Calgary. I know you and I did the post-game reaction, but for people that maybe didn't see it, what were your initial takeaways from that game as the Jets bounce back from the Seattle loss and pick up a win over Calgary?
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to Kelly Moore, actually. I don't know if that's where everyone thought I was going to go at 7 minutes into the show this morning. But Kelly asked a couple questions to the players and the coaches afterwards, just kind of about that bounce back win concept. And that was something that obviously we think about it, but I was really glad that Kelly asked about it because the Jets are, again, it's only 8 games into the season, whatever, but yet to lose back-to-back games. And this was something that was part of their kind of DNA last year as well. And there are a lot of little things that we talk about where it's like what separates these really great teams and these experienced teams and these veteran teams from these newer, still trying to figure it out teams. And one of them is, we can get into it maybe a little bit later with Utah, but like Utah lost the most 1-goal games last year. Like the whole idea of like having that little bit of extra dog, having that extra fight, being able to kind of put your foot down when it matters and actually be able to kind of take that extra step when the gap is really tight at the end of the game is something that's more difficult for those teams that are still young and trying to figure it out. And so the Winnipeg Jets, they were able to win a lot of really blowout games, but not lose a lot of blowout games. And they won a lot of 1-goal games and all those different things. But, a big thing about them is they didn't win a lot of lose a lot of back-to-back games last year. There were not a lot of losing skids for this Winnipeg Jets hockey team. So kind of getting an indicator of a similar pattern, I guess I'll say, early on is a really positive thing, because there are a lot of teams that have started the season or in the middle of this 8-game stretch here or whatever, lost a ton of games, and that's really hard on players, and that's really hard on morale and all these different things. And so being able to bring in a new group of players with, Gus Nyquist and Taves and all these different players, and everyone have a hand in being able to kind of continue to sustain pressure. And when you have a bit of a stinker, which that Seattle game, in my opinion, wasn't even like by and far the worst game they've played this year. There were things that I did like about it. It was just a little bit boring, but it wasn't like a horrible game. And again, 3-0 scoreboard isn't very flattering considering the fact that there were 2 empty netter goals there. Because at the end of the day, there's really no difference between a 3-0 and a 1-0 win. Unless we start getting down to goal differential, which no one really cares about. But I think that, that Calgary game was good, that they were able to kind of pick it up a little bit in that second period, knowing that, that part of it was kind of on the line. Back-to-back losses at home in the Heritages on a weekend probably isn't something that the team was eager to do. So they were able to kind of take it to the opponent that they had, gotten pretty familiar with earlier in that week. There were some moments in that game where, especially on the special teams to start, I think I made a tweet about it where it's like something along the lines of, these kind of looked like 2 different teams that kind of played each other earlier in the week, right? Like the power play, it seemed like Calgary was really getting into the lanes of the Winnipeg Jets passes and all these different things. And so it ended up being a battle of the special teams, and it was a fun one to kind of watch.
Yeah, and I said on the post game as well, and if people didn't check it out after today's stream, definitely go check that out. I look for 2 things when the Winnipeg Jets lose games, and on the actual game itself, it's did they beat themselves? The past couple of years, we haven't seen that really much at all. The Jets beating themselves. Like I said it on the post game, half the time in this league, you can just like get out of other teams' way and they'll find a way to lose. Like the turnovers, the penalties, the goaltending most of the time. Like we're so spoiled here in Winnipeg to have Connor Hellebuck, but goaltending loses a lot of games around the league for a lot of bad teams. And the Jets rarely ever beat themselves. But when they do lose, and that Seattle game where I don't think they beat themselves, I just think they put together a good effort and lost 1-0 with 2 empty netters. How do they bounce back from that? And I thought they bounced back very well in this game against Calgary. Maybe not at the start, maybe not in the first period. It wasn't, they hit the ground running to avenge that loss. But as the game went on, they absolutely got going, and 5-3. And the amount of penalties in this game was ridiculous. Lyss, you and I were commenting on it like during the game that the 5-on-5 even strength numbers aren't even worth looking at in a game like this, because I believe it was 35 minutes of this game was played at 5-on-5, which is an incredibly low number of 5-on-5 minutes for a game.
We were kind of Googling it. We couldn't find really, really good answers, but like apparently the average hockey game is played like 53 minutes or so at 5-on-5.
Yeah, and that's 35 minutes of 5-on-5 hockey is crazy. And yeah, it was the ref show on Friday night. But I will say a lot of the penalties on both sides were a high stick in the neutral zone. And it's like, yeah, the refs are going to call that. It was a blatant hold in front of the net. Yeah, the refs are going to call that. Like there were a lot of legit penalties. And
I always find these games so funny for that exact reason, because it's like, the refs don't really want to call anything anymore, or it's like, Winnipeg gets like 3 power plays back to back, and then Calgary finally gets one, but then on the penalty kill, the guy like 2 hands a guy in the face. It's like, brother, you're not giving much of a choice. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like I tweeted out during the game, this is like just 2 of the most undisciplined teams in the league as it stands right now, just going at it, doing what they do best, taking a ton of penalties. And Scott O'Neill has talked about that at length, something that the Jets are trying to fix. 6 power plays for the Flames. Penalty kill was money again, 1 for 6 on their power plays. And the Jets were 2 for 8 on their power play. So that was Friday night. Another thing that happened, Lyss, was Jonathan Toews' first home goal. A nice play where they won a face-off. They got the puck down low. Jonathan Toews won body positioning in front of the net and deflected home his first goal at home. And Lyss and I were both in the building. We can both attest to the fact that that was a very loud crowd pop, a very loud ovation for Jonathan Toews. And Josh Morrissey, 3 assists. Gabe Vilardi gets his first goal of the year, and makes a sick pass to Alex Iafallo that I think skyrocketed. We'll get into the goals on our Chuds Power Sports Power Poll list, but your thoughts on maybe Jonathan Toews to start with, the goal, the ovation, the crowd pop, and then maybe talk about a little bit about Josh Morrissey because he was incredible as well.
Yeah, one thing about the Jonathan Toews goal that cracks me up is first of all, listen, I'm not a hockey expert by any means. I was watching that play, and I wasn't watching super close. There's probably something going on in the Blue Jays game. I don't know. But it was one of those things where it was the reason I knew that Jonathan Toews scored that goal was because of how Winnipeg Jets fans reacted, right? Mm-hmm. There are, 15,000 people in that rink, and it's a city of puck knowers. We've talked about this, where it's in a lot of places, you might not know who scores that goal. Even yesterday, I was at the bar watching the Oilers Kraken game, and it's Matthias Ekholm shoots a puck or whatever, and Darnell Nurse got a deflection on it or something. It's what the hell, sure, right? Why is Darnell Nurse the one who's getting the tips in that front? But a goal's a goal. But it's you're watching that and you're who touched that? I don't even know. But and so I was waiting kind of to watch, obviously the replay, obviously the TSN TVs that are above on the press box that are always a little bit behind. Right. So if you ever feel like you missed something, you can watch those, which is wonderful.
Very clutch.
But the way the players reacted, but also the way the crowd reacted, I was yes, okay. Jonathan Toews first as a Jet at home here in Winnipeg. So that was really funny. But yeah, it was really cool to see him get his second goal of the season, both in a very similar way of look, he was one of the most well-respected, biggest name players of the 2010s, whatever, but he doesn't score goals the same way that Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin does. And so, people talk about the different things that he brings to the game, and that's kind of it. Neil Pionk talked about, the net front deflections and kind of jamming away at the puck and all these different things. And then so it's nice to see that kind of skill set being put on display here, because it is something that it's just such a valuable skill set, and playing with guys maybe when he comes back, Cole Perfetti and stuff like that, there's a lot to like about what that complementary skill set can do. And so it's nice to see him kind of getting on the board early enough here. Obviously, I'm sure he would have liked to have gotten a couple goals earlier, but monkeys off the back now. You got the visualization here of that goal. You can see he's all up in Dustin Wolf's business. And as we know, this goal was challenged for goaltender interference, which was kind of that up. That hilarious, and that would have been
so
devastating.
Brutal. So
the only thing I will say, and maybe this is just the hater in me who loves everyone, I love the boo. I love the boo. Can you imagine how loud those boos would have been?
If they took his first home goal away?
Gosh. That might have been one of the loudest boos that I would ever hear in this rink, because we know that Jets fans aren't really big on booing their own team, being big on booing their own players. But you best believe that if a ref called back Jonathan Toews' first goal at home as a Jet, that crowd was going to be booing. So, yeah, that was the goal of his there. You can see that he's doing the Gabe Vilardi job of his line of kind of just getting a little bit too irritating in the goaltender's face right after that draw win. Obviously, Gabe Vilardi doesn't always take draws, often doesn't, but the way he wins that and goes right into the net front, they knew exactly what they were doing. Scott O'Neill talked about that afterwards in his media availability, that look when you win the draws, you're able to control what you want to do with the puck right away. And this is a team that if you let them do that, they're going to win a lot of hockey games, because they know what to do. They know what they like to do. They play with a lot of structure. Their details are really strong. So, I give them a shout out for that, because that goal was also big at the time that it happened.
Yes, absolutely. And you talk about what Scott O'Neill said about starting with the puck and all of those things. Jonathan Toews, 13 for 15 in the faceoff dot on Friday night against the Calgary Flames, 87%. So when Jonathan Toews is on the ice, the Jets are starting with the puck a lot. He is getting a lot better at faceoffs too. The first couple of games, he was slightly below 50%, and you could, it's Jonathan Toews. He wants to go 100% in the dot. But there have been some games here where he's just been dominant in the faceoff circle. This was one of those games, 13 for 15, multiple wins, or a win on the PK, couple wins on the power play, couple wins at 4-on-4 when possession is very crucial as well. So Jonathan Toews in the faceoff dot is becoming a massive asset for this Winnipeg Jets group. The next kind of thing I want to talk about was Josh Morrissey. I know people in chat were saying, Josh Morrissey, just doing Josh Morrissey things. The past 2 games, I think he's been the Winnipeg Jets' best player. In that Seattle game, he played over 28 minutes, had a ton of shots on goal, and was really the catalyst for any kind of push that they had in the final period. And then the Calgary game, he had 3 assists, was the first star of the game, and really was just flying all game long. Here, trying to bring up the goal visualizer again. We love doing this on the post-game reaction, by the way, so bring up a little goal visualizer here. But Josh Morrissey, this goal was... This was the Jets' first goal of the game. They hadn't really gotten much offense up until this point. It was 4-on-4, so a little bit more room on the ice. And he just steps right around Mackenzie Weegar, one of the better defensemen in the NHL, and feeds Kyle Connor with a no-look pass. He doesn't look. The dots don't show it, but Josh Morrissey's head does not turn and look at Kyle Connor. This is a no-look pass. And when you give Kyle Connor, you freeze the goalie and give him a one-timer pass, it's probably one of the best guys in the league that you want to take that one-timer. Puck was a little in his feet, but again, it's Kyle Connor. He's made a living and got paid $96 million in an extension based off scoring goals like this. So incredible play from the Jets' best players, Josh Morrissey, Kyle Connor. Eric Comrie was good in this game. I was about to say Connor Hellebuck, but he didn't play in this game.
Before we move on from the goal, though, this is a 4-on-4 goal that happens, right? Every single player on the Jets has a positive touch leading up to this one, right? Like Mark Scheifele's kind of little, way to his pass to get the puck out of the kind of danger area there. Dylan DeMel's breakout pass, and then as we know, the rest is history. But that's so huge to be able to have you can see Mark Scheifele kind of with that bank pass along the boards, kind of getting away from the forechecking forwards there and springing the other guys away, and you don't have much hope on that. I was talking yesterday to some folks in my family and kind of about just kind of the evolution of hockey, and maybe this is a little bit too big picture of a conversation, but with the way hockey goes now, in a situation like that goal, like that shot attempt or whatever, the only reason that Kyle Connor would not score that goal would be if he had the error, right? This shooters have gotten so good in the National Hockey League. Yeah, I guess there are a couple things that could, if the pass isn't good enough or whatever, but at the end of the day, Dustin Wolf has almost no shot on a play like that if it's executed to perfection, right? Because that is one of the most, like you said, most lethal shooters in the entire National Hockey League. Yep. And Josh Morrissey holds onto the puck for just long enough to open up the lane that Kyle Connor needs to kind of make that happen. And shooters aren't perfect. They're going to mess these things up, whatever. But if you get that shot off in the way that you want to, if you're Kyle Connor, you're scoring on that every single time, because that is a ridiculously difficult save for a goaltender to make. And so the more of that space you can create as line mates for a guy like Kyle Connor, the better. And we know that Mark Scheifele and Gabe Vilardi can do it. So it's always nice to see when the defenders kind of play a part in that as well.
Absolutely. And Josh Morrissey, like I said, in that Seattle game in the third period was really the leader for any kind of offensive push that they did have. And really, carried that through in the game against Calgary. There was a few lineup changes in the game against Calgary, Lyss, and this can be a bit of a bigger picture discussion and maybe a good transition into today's game as well. But Colin Miller was in the lineup for Luke Shen on the blue line. Hayden Fleury moved up to play with Neil Pionk. Logan Stanley stayed in on the left side with Colin Miller on that third pair. And then Brad Lambert, after playing 2 games, came out of the lineup, and Nikita Chibrikov went back in alongside Jonathan Toews. He was on the ice for that goal with the visualizer that we showed earlier. Lyss, what did you think of those lineup changes? And, Colin Miller, he played 1 game on his offside earlier in the season. Scott O'Neill, you asked him about it after the game. Said he had to get him in. Second night of a back-to-back, 3 games in 4 nights. Good opportunity to get, some fresh legs into the lineup with Colin Miller and Nikita Chibrikov.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, look, this is a defense lineup that nobody considers to be optimal. And so, the fact that we can sit here and say, 5-2, 6-2, they're now 6-2 going into that with that win. Yeah, 6-2, missing your second best defenseman, all these different things, whatever. This was what we were hoping for the Jets. Sure, maybe secretly in the back of all of our minds we're like, wow, what a wonderful time this would be to discover that, Hayden Fleury is actually a bona fide second pairing defenseman who is one, but I don't think anyone realistically thought that was going to happen. And so this was just another game of they held on. I don't know. Like,
Got it done. Yeah.
the Pionk pairing was better than I was expecting. And so the positive part about that and the positive indication of that is that Neil Pionk has kind of been the consistent factor in the higher performing of this bottom two pairings. When Stanley was with him, that pairing wasn't actually terrible. Stanley Miller wasn't fabulous. Still, Stanley Shen in their minutes hasn't been fabulous, but Neil Pionk's had a pretty good start to the season, which is definitely what you want, because at the end of the day, if your top two pairings are in good shape, my God, you barely have to play that third pairing if you don't want to. Obviously, you want to try and balance things out as much as you can, and not put too much pressure and too much of a load on your top pairings. And we've talked about this at length as well, where it's nice when Josh Morrissey doesn't have to take all the tough competition. So if your bottom pairing can take on a little bit of that, it really does help open things up for the rest of the team. But all that's to say, if I had to choose between Neil Pionk or whoever is playing right D on the third pairing to have a really, really strong performance, I'm picking Neil Pionk. And in this game, I'm not going to say it was a super, super strong performance, but it was good. Neil Pionk was fine at 5-on-5, and he was good on the power play and all these different things. And so, I think he's been good to start the season, especially considering how much flack he's gotten kind of over the last couple of years, and a lot of people wondering that, it's no longer contract year Neil Pionk. It's no longer Dylan Sandberg and Neil Pionk. What's going to happen? And so he's impressed me to sort of start this off. But Stanley Miller didn't get like a ton of minutes. Like, obviously the special teams really threw off kind of how this game looked, but they weren't awesome. But every now and then there were little flashes of Colin Miller that made me go, you should probably be in the lineup more than once every 6 games. But, it is what it is. But, I don't know. What did you think about kind of those pairings?
Well, I agree with you that I saw flashes from Colin Miller, even in limited minutes. There were so many special teams that made me think this guy should be in the lineup more than, a 3 games and 4 night scenario. One of those times is this afternoon. We can get into that a little later on when we preview the game. But before we do that, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Chud's Power Sports. We're going to do our power poll now on the top 5 goals from the Calgary game, and then move on to the Utah Mammoth game, which is later today, 5 o'clock down at Canada Life Center. And it's a matchup technically between 2 of the top 3 teams in the West. So it's going to be a fun one.
My dream.
Yeah, we got a first place in the West matchup down at Canada Life Center today, Liz. But this episode and our power polls are brought to you by Chud's Power Sports. Chud's is the power sports leader in Manitoba and has been for over 80 years. They've been serving Manitobans almost into their 9th decade now. They have a massive parts department, and they have a massive store out in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. You take a look at the stuff behind me. This is Chud's website. ATVs, UTVs, boats, snowmobiles, tractors, golf carts, Argos and Sasquatch, outboard motors, RVs, ice houses. I've been camping basically my whole life, and I haven't seen half of this stuff. This is a very extensive website of power sports over at Chud's. They've got you covered. Like I said, their store's out in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. And if you can't make it out to Gimli, check out their website, chudspowersports.com. And they also have a massive parts department if you're looking for stuff to maybe tweak your boats or snowmobiles or UTVs or whatever the case might be. So if you need it, Chud's has it. Power Sports out in Gimli, or their website, chudspowersports.com. And Liz, that brings up our Chud's Power Sports Power Poll, which is our top 5 goals from the game Friday night. Like I said off the top, there's not many times the Jets are going to score exactly 5 goals the game before WST Sunday Live. So kind of run through our list here. The number 1 goal, we didn't talk about Gabe Vilardi. It says Alex Iafallo because he scored the goal. But make no mistake, this was all Gabe Vilardi. Kyle Connor, we showed the goal visualizer earlier. The unreal no-look pass from number 44, Josh Morrissey. Jonathan Toews, his first at home, comes in at number 3. Gabriel Vilardi's first of the season on the power play comes in at number 4. And then the empty net goal, Vlad Nemesnikov. It's an empty netter. It comes in number 5, unfortunately.
But I give him some love for that one too, because he did ice the puck, I believe.
Yes,
earlier on the shift before.
He did.
And so then he had to stay out, and then he ended up scoring the goal. And it wasn't an easy goal either. Like, it was a good empty netter. And so when I first we were talking about this when we first came up with this idea together, we were like, I was thinking about it, and I was like, that actually was kind of a fun empty net goal. Like, maybe it could be beyond just number 5. And then I remember what the rest of the goals looked like, and I was like, never mind.
If Jonathan Toews scored it, would it be higher?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not who scored the goal.
If it was Toews first at home and it was a long range empty netter, no?
Yeah. Oh,
No,
first at
I
home
agree
because
with you.
in, in
Yeah,
this
like
in this scenario though, if that goal wasn't Jonathan Taves' first, I could see us having flipped the Gabriel Velarde and Jonathan Taves goals.
sure.
But yeah, no, like this list, obviously we're in agreement on it. This is how we rank the
Yeah.
5 goals, and I'm curious to see what everyone else thinks about these goals. But that Alex Iafallo goal was the surefire number one for us. That Gabe Velarde pass was so disgusting, and it was so nice to see him. He looked kind of like a man on fire after scoring that goal, and his goal we put at number 4, which rarely I feel like in a game where the Jets score 5 goals and Gabe Velarde scores a goal, is his goal going to be at number 4, because normally his goals are so stunning and cool and beautiful, and if you love watching hockey, you just go, oh, when he scores a goal, because they're just so awesome. But this one was peak Gabe Velarde hasn't scored in 7 games and needs his first of the season. It was just kind of like an not so glamorous backhand, whatever. Like, it wasn't a bad goal. It went in. It was
from
good.
his office.
But then
it was okay.
After that, he looked a little bit more electrified. And again, it's not his goal, but that pass is just so disgusting. And you know, the Calgary Flames penalty kill only has so many options to take away, and you're not always expecting a no look behind the back pass from a guy down on the doorstep there. So got to give some love to Gabe Velarde for that. And Alex Iafallo, shout out to that. He like fell as he scored, and he had this little like I tweeted and called it like a Squirts goalie team photo day celly, where he was like on his side. It was so funny. It was so good. And I was like, this is just perfect. The goals were raining down at that point. So that was that was a blast.
Yeah, the Gabe Velarde one, or sorry, the Alex Iafallo Gabe Velarde pass was awesome. You can see kind of the wheels turning in Velarde's head as the defender drops down and his back is turned to the goalie. And you can see him kind of thinking like, okay, what on earth am I going to do here? And he just wraps it around the defender and backhands it right on the tape to Alex Iafallo, who's wide open in the middle of the slot. Really nice play, and that came, right off of in the same period as Gabe Velarde's first of the season. And Matt Hyman noted in chat, the celebration for Velarde, look to the sky, very clearly,
Right, literal thank God.
Yeah, like he talked that morning before the game and kind of talked about how he's getting chances. Obviously, he wants to get his first goal. I don't think it was weighing on him in terms of, affecting his play, where he wasn't generating or anything like that. But clearly, he wanted his first goal. He wanted to break this early season slump. Took him 7 games last year. He scored in game 8 this year. Still ended up with 27 goals last year. So Gabe Velarde, look, maybe he'll go on a hot streak now that he's off the scoreless slump list, and then followed it up with that great pass. And we were thinking, oh boy, Gabe Velarde is back. And then, Kyle Connor, unreal pass from Josh Morrissey. Jonathan Taves first at home. Gabe Velarde on the power play. We've seen Gabe Velarde score nicer goals from his office on the power play. And then Meskov with the empty netter. That's our Chuds Power Sports Power Poll. The 5 goals from the Calgary Flames game as the Jets defeat the Flames 5-3. Lyss, let's now get to today's game as the Jets get set to take on the Utah Mammoth. Now, the Mammoth are 7-2. They have won 5 straight games. Or excuse me, I've said that twice now because I memorized the stat going into yesterday's game against Mini where they won. So they've won 6 straight games. They beat the Minnesota Wild yesterday 6-2 on the road in Minnesota. And Minnesota, if we were looking at these Western Conference standings, let's scroll down. Oh, we got to keep going. Oh, there they are, 14th, 3-5-1. They're struggling. That's a big game for them. They get Utah at home and they don't show up, but Utah has just looked incredible. I mean, Logan Cooley, I think, has 5 goals in his last 2 games. Dylan Gunther, Nick Schmaltz, all in the first period. Yeah, he had the natural hat trick against St. Louis. Utah, before the Minnesota game, went into St. Louis and beat St. Louis 7-4. And St. Louis crawled back a little bit. That score maybe even flatters the Blues. But they chased their backup goalie in that game. They got Bennington in. They beat them 7-4. Then they went to Mini. Then they beat them 6-2. Like, the Utah Mammoth right now are the hottest team in hockey. I know it's early, but again, they started out 1-2, and since then they've won 6 straight games and quality wins on the road against good teams, Lyss.
Absolutely, and I think that it's a testament to what we know this Utah team can be and what we wanted them to be, because like you said, there's so much firepower there, and like, I'm sorry, but like that line of Peterka, Cooley, and Gunther, like, get out of town. How so much fun is that? Like, it's so cool. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how they kind of match up against the Jets, because it does kind of feel like a little bit of a like veteran, experienced, structured team versus like scrappy, really, really fun, like kind of chaotic, like almost kind of like the Nikolai Ehlers factor of like there's a lot of good, but then what's the drawback is that like you never really know what's going on. And so sometimes, you think about when, you're playing sports as like an adult or as a kid, whatever, when you play against a team that isn't very good. And this is actually something that people talked about with Josh Morrissey when he was in the AHL before he made the NHL jump, is that he wasn't like an absolute like superstar in the AHL. And there were some stories, and like I don't know if whether it was media at the time or whatever, that was like it's because he didn't really know what was going on. Like there everything that was supposed to happen wasn't happening, because you have all these brutal bank shots or these passes that aren't going the way that they want to, and all of a sudden these puck retrievals look a little bit different than they should. And then when you get into a game with a little bit more structure, the players that know that sort of stuff are able to excel a little bit more. And I'm not calling Utah bad by any means. It's the team on a 6-game win streak, and they have so many good players, but they play different hockey than the Winnipeg Jets. So the Winnipeg Jets don't really necessarily always put themselves in positions where Kyle Connor is going to score 3 goals in 7 minutes or whatever in the first period, but it's going to be kind of a battle of different strengths and, fire with fire, but like different kinds of fire. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing which fire prevails. But I'm also interested to see what they do with the lines and what they do with the line matching. I worry about Luke Schenn in a game like this. So I'm wondering if maybe there's a chance that he doesn't play. I don't know. It's been a condensed schedule, but he did get last game off, so maybe they will, put him back in. But if that's the case, I could just see him, Logan Stanley, getting kind of caught flat-footed and just watching some of these players, especially because this kid line is not actually their bona fide top line. I believe Barrett Hayton is still centering that line with probably like Schmaltz and Clayton Keller, I think here. Is so. I think that there's some potential for the line matching to be really interesting. And yeah, exactly.
That's their top 9.
I'm on a roll today.
That's their top 9. Yes, Clayton Keller, Barrett Hayton, Nick Schmaltz is their top line, at least listed. I haven't looked at their 5-on-5 time on ice, and I know last year's big argument of Adam Lowry actually being the 2C. I'm not sure what's going on in Utah in that sense, but Logan Cooley, he's on an absolute tear. 5 goals in his last 2 games. Peterka, Gunther, that's their second line. McBain, Krause, and Charcone on the third line. And then our guy, Jets legend fourth line, by the way, Brandon Tanev, Kevin Stenlund, and Jets legend third pair, if I'm not mistaken. Second pair. Wow. Ooh, look at this. Okay, well, we'll have to wait and see for warm-ups. But Brandon Tanev, Kevin Stenlund, and Nate Schmidt, multiple Jets legends on display for the Utah Mammoth today.
Yeah, no, and I don't love their depth a whole ton, but so I do think that there is some potential, maybe a Morgan Barron legacy game coming up. He's overdue for one of those because, he hasn't scored, 3 goals in 3 games or whatever it was. But I don't love their depth as much as I love some of the other parts of the team. So there could be some opportunities there. But like you said, Jets legacy game, that's pretty cool. Question though. Did they do a welcome back Brandon Tanev? Because they've already done multiple of those. Because when he left the first time, when he would come back the first time, then you would do a welcome back Brandon Tanev. And then when he actually rejoined the team, you do another welcome back Brandon Tanev. Do they do another welcome back Brandon Tanev tonight?
I'll say yes. And it's I'll say yes. And it's because he's kind of a fan favorite, like the fans would like that. I think
video though, just a little graphic,
Fans, we want to welcome back Brandon Tanev, and it's just clap. It's not going to be a video tribute for sure. I'd be shocked, but that's the Utah lineup. Again, very young, fun, and exciting team. They play with a lot of pace. And you brought up their list, how Luke Schenn in a game like this scares you. I remember saying before the season that this was pre-Sandberg injury, but the way I thought the Jets were going to handle their third pair was some combination of Stanley, Schenn, Fleury, and Miller, and kind of just play it by the matchup in terms of, okay, if you're playing...
Is that what you thought they were going to do, or what you wanted them to do?
I genuinely thought that's what they were going to do. I did. I did not think that Luke Schenn would be an everyday player. I did not think... and he's not. I mean, he didn't play on Friday night, so that there goes that argument. But I will say, this is a game today where it's built for Colin Miller. The speed of the Utah Mammoth, the puck moving, the dynamic ability they have off the rush. I really think that Luke Schenn and Logan Stanley as the third pair might really struggle if they get out there against Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther and Clayton Keller. They have so much speed as a team. And that's not really anything against Luke Schenn and Logan Stanley and those players. It's just more the matchup. And I think Colin Miller came in, again, so many penalties, not much 5-on-5 time. I thought he showed flashes. But to me, it just comes down to who's the better skater against a super fast team that's won 6 straight and coming in red hot. And to me, that's Colin Miller. So I'd have Colin Miller in this game. We'll have to wait and see for warmups. There's no morning skate today because the game is a little bit earlier. I'm expecting Connor Hellebuck. I'm not sure what to expect in the defense core when it comes to Luke Schenn or Colin Miller. Also not sure what to expect in the forward core when it comes to Nikita Chibrikov. Is he going to get another game? Is it going to be Parker Ford? Is it going to be Brad Lambert? We'll have to wait and see. Stay glued to @SportsTalkWPG the X account for the Lions. But Lyss, what are you maybe predicting as opposed to expecting for today's lineup when it comes to the Schenn versus Miller and the 3 kids up front with Ford, Lambert, and Chibrikov? Who do you think plays?
Yeah, I think the other thing, you're talking about, defense play defense, and I get that. But this also is a game where, like I said, with the fire, like there is a very good chance that Utah does score 4 goals against the Jets, but there also is an equally good chance that the Winnipeg Jets can plot 6 or 7 against them too, right? So I think that having Colin Miller shot in the lineup as well, and the way he manages the ozone, I think is also going to be really good if they're able to get that in and it works out. And based on who's healthy right now and stuff as well, he should be able to play his proper side. So there's just a lot of things that kind of align for me, thinking that Colin Miller could join, but again, didn't have a super strong performance on Friday. And it sounded like when Scott Arniel spoke that it was mostly load management more than anything that was the reason that he got in. So I don't know exactly what I'm expecting there. I could foresee a different kid getting in tonight, one of Lambert or Ford as opposed to Nikita Chibrikov. I thought it was kind of random that Chibrikov drew into the lineup last game. I don't know if I was necessarily expecting that, but Agreed. I think that, Brad Lambert hasn't gotten a full crack yet, and I think that it would be nice for him to get in again. I'm not as big of a Parker Ford guy as everybody else seems to be. I think that we know what we're getting with him, and in a game like this, I would love to see some kind of head-to-head Brad Lambert, moving around on that ice out there with some other guys who are moving around. I think it'd be really, really fun stylistically. So I'm hoping that he draws into the lineup tonight. That would be my selection, but also, there are different things to like about both what Nikita and Chibrikov and Parker Ford could do against the Utah Mammoth as well. So I think that there's kind of positives to everything, but I'm hoping that Brad Lambert draws in this evening as well as Colin Miller.
Okay, yeah, I disagree with you on Parker Ford a little bit. I remember I was on with Huss when the Jets were making one of these decisions. I think it was before the Seattle game. And what I said was, the Jets are doing, I thought, a good job of putting these players in the spots that they need to be in to succeed, whether it's Brad Lambert playing in the top 6, Nikita Chibrikov playing in the top 6, or Lambert playing in the top 9, but playing with Nemestikov and Iafallo, 2 players that can play with skilled players. But Parker Ford's not coming in and playing with Jonathan Taves. He's going to play on the 4th line with Barron and Koepke. And Lyss, you brought up there that you're not really sure what we're getting you said that we know what we're getting from Parker Ford. I'd argue that we don't know what we're getting from a guy like Brad Lambert. We know that he can bring the speed and bring the dynamic ability, but we just haven't seen it yet in a game. I do agree with you, though, that today might be the day where he might be built for a game like this with the amount of speed, and the Jets might need that speed up front to kind of counter what Utah's doing. I don't know. I don't know if they think that Lambert or Chibrikov would be better suited for that game, or if they just would rather promote a veteran and have Ford in on the 4th line and have that 4th line do what they did when Ford was in, and that was forecheck really well, penalty kill really well. I don't know. There's a lot of decisions that the Jets can make here, and it's good for now, right? Because they have these 3 players out and they have the opportunity with open lineup spots to kind of tweak and play by the matchups and all of those things. But you need to take that opportunity and handle it well. And there's a difference between teams like Calgary and teams like Utah when it comes to their play style and how the Jets should approach it. So we'll see. I think there's a chance we see Colin Miller and maybe like Brad Lambert to try and counter the speed today. There's also a chance we see Parker Ford on the fourth line and Luke Shen back in on the defense score, and the Jets just get carved off the rush, or those players thrive in that scenario somehow. Like there's a lot of scenarios here. So we'll have to wait and see for warm up on that. I saw Tim brought up in the chat Nikolai Ehlers' first goal. He didn't actually score, but Lyss, I don't know if you saw this. Let me bring up the goal visualizer, because we can't show like actual clips of goals because the NHL would come find us. But let's. This is Nikolai Ehlers yesterday, and Nikolai Ehlers, like, look, he hasn't scored yet. He's off to a tough start. Let me move this a little bit better. He's in front of the net here, and the puck just really goes off of him. It's Miro Heiskanen. I think Nikolai Ehlers, I've said many times, he's going to be good on the Carolina Hurricanes. He's kind of rough to start this season. He's got a few assists now, but this was tough. I mean, he's getting back to the front of the net. He tries to kind of swat this puck away. It goes off of his stick. He kind of puts his stick down to try and stop it or maybe deflect it, and it's just a nice little tap in.
Oh, that's a toughie.
Yeah.
That is a toughie.
Yeah, so Nikolai Ehlers, the Carolina Hurricanes are doing great. Like, make no mistake about that. They're doing just fine. They lost this game by 1, actually, funny enough, to the Dallas Stars, which is unfortunate. The Jets would obviously...
The battle of the Mikko Rantanen.
Yes, the Mikko Rantanen battle. But, man, yeah, Nikolai Ehlers... I have high hopes for him in Carolina, but it has definitely been a slow start in terms of his production. He did have a primary assist last night as well on Sebastian Aho's goal that gave the Canes a 2-0 lead, and then they blew it, lost 3-2 in regulation. So Nikolai Ehlers we'll be watching his stats throughout the season. Another former Jet list on the topic of former Jets. I don't know if you saw yesterday, but the news came out that Patrik Laine is going to miss 3 to 4 months with, what is it, like a core muscle surgery? This guy just cannot catch
surgery is.
This guy just can't catch a break. It's ridiculous.
It was freaking devastating. I saw that and I was like, literally, like, my heart like fell. Like, there is no player in the league that I am wishing better for than Patrik Laine, and the same has been said since 2016. Like, that's our guy, man. And like it just, at this point, like, you want him to have a career. You want him to have a career that he's excited about and proud of and all these different things. You want him to be able to play hockey. And, I think, though, the one thing I will say is that, like, if he's going to be going through this, I'm glad he's going through it in Montreal. This seems like a really good place to be right now. This seems like a really good organization. It seems like the players are, in a really good spot right now. Like, you could call it the ethical tank or whatever you'd want to call it, where it's like they're not a contender or anything like that, but they have a lot of good things going for them, and they're in that part of a rebuild where it's good to win hockey games now, and you can win hockey games now, and they're doing so in a dramatic fashion, and they're growing together and learning together and all these different things. But I think that it's a really good environment right now. They have a lot of really good pieces and stuff. So I think that I don't really know how those long-term injury rehabs and stuff like that go for these players and how much time they continue to spend with the team. And I think everyone and every team is a little bit different. Like, we know that Adam Lowry and his time spent with the team probably looks a little bit different than the average person would when going through this type of recovery process, because he's always around and stuff. But I think he'll be okay, and wishing the best for him, because, oh my gosh, that was just such a brutal thing to see on socials yesterday. I was so sad.
It was. And like, when it comes to Patrik Laine, he's a player I'm always going to root for no matter where he goes. And Montreal is that young and fun team in the East. Like, we're talking about Utah today with Cooley and Gunther. Well, the Habs have Demidov and Caulfield, Suzuki, Hudson. They have all of these young, exciting players. They play an incredibly entertaining style of hockey, and they're 7-3 to start the season. Like, they're legit. Like, they're definitely making a push to win the Atlantic, be in a playoff spot like they were last year. They were in the playoffs last year, the very final seed in the East, the 8th seed, but they're making a push to be one of those top 3 seeds this season. And look, you look around that Atlantic, I've got the standings in front of me right here. Tampa Bay through 8 games is 2-4-2. The Toronto Maple Leafs are 4-4-1. Boston's 4-6. Ottawa's 4-4-1 with Brady Tkachuk out for a month. Buffalo is 4-4-1. It's just a lot of mid in this Atlantic division right now. Florida's 5-5. The Detroit Red Wings, led by Mason Appleton, are 6-3, second in the division list. Mason Appleton making a difference over there in Detroit. And then Montreal, top of the Atlantic right now, 7-3. And that sucks that Patrick Laine out 3 to 4 months, won't really be a part of that push for the next 3 to 4 months. And we hope he gets better and makes an impact this season for the Montreal Canadiens. Just before we move on to our segments list, I want to ask you about one more thing. And I've referenced training camp a lot in today's episode. And during training camp on WST Sunday Live, we said many things. And one of the many things we said was that the Manitoba Moose were going to be good this year. And we said that many, many times. And
why would you do this to me?
Said it over and over again, almost every single episode. And we might have lied, Lyss. We might have lied. I'm not fully jumping ship, but 5 straight losses, 1-4-1 to start the season. Ooh, tough start for the Moose.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, they start the season with a nice win there, and you get Braden Yager's first pro goal and all these different things, and all's going well. They lose a tough one to Laval the next day. Laval did win, their division last year, and they went all the way to the Calder Cup final. So it was a good team, and then Grand Rapids last weekend dropped 2 eggs. Grand Rapids again on Thursday, and they dropped another one. No, Friday. They played in Grand Rapids and lost again. And then heartbreaker in overtime yesterday off of Elias Salmonson stick, and it was too bad. Listen, I'm not going to diagnose the Manitoba Moose with anything right now. I don't know what's going on, but I do want to highlight a couple things. One being that there are a lot of players on this team that are playing in brand new roles to them, right? These young players who have never played pro before, guys who are coming in and learning the systems, are brand new to the team. The only player who's really kind of doing the same thing they were doing last year is like the goalies and Elias Salmonson. Even Danny Jilkin, elevated role. All these different players who even were on the team last year. There's just a lot of change going on. So I'm giving them some grace with some growing pains. And, they're going to come back home next week. And I'm hoping that there is going to be, a couple of strong performances and things like that. They're not, from my understanding, I've been kind of tuning in here and there, but I haven't sat down and really locked in on a game to the degree that I would have liked to have in the last couple of days. So that's why I'm not jumping to any crazy conclusions. You guys know I always have opinions on things, but I don't want to be too strong in one direction for someone who hasn't actually watched it to the same degree that I've watched all the Jets games this year. But I think that they definitely aren't playing like the worst hockey team in the American Hockey League or whatever. The scoreboard is obviously not flattering to them, but I think there are still a lot of good pieces, and I stand by liking what I've liked. But it's definitely not awesome to start the season in this way. It's not good for morale either. Again, a group that needs to develop that sense of unity and that cohesion and all those different things. And you have some of these vets like the Shaws and the Jads of the world that need to have buy-in and be excited about this group. And it's hard to do that when you start the season to this degree. So I'm hoping that they can kind of pick it up soon. And I think when they do start to pick it up, it has the potential to be like a bit of a snowball effect, just because they do have a lot of pieces that I really like, but a lot of things have to go right before they get to that point. So we'll see.
Yeah, the snowball effect and the morale, I think, can be a big thing. You and I were at Manitoba Moose production day, and we asked almost every single player how key is a good start to avenging last year almost, and the morale that came from last year was obviously a very down year, and all of them spoke to that importance. And clearly it hasn't been a great start for the Moose. 1-4-1. They're going to now take on the Tucson Roadrunners this week, who are 3-2-1 to start the season. And then they come back and play Texas in kind of a home and home Sunday, November 2nd, Monday, November 3rd, both at home. And then they go on the road to Texas. And then it's just kind of all over the place from there. So
I have a weird thought though. It's the Manitoba Moose schedule is so fascinating too, because HL hockey is weird. They fight a lot and all these different things because you are playing the same opponents all the time.
5 million times.
Video work and all these different things that you're going to do is so important because you have the same opponents all the time. This would literally be like if the Winnipeg Jets played every single one of their games against the Central Division plus a couple extra teams, but those couple extra teams are also the same ones. So the Central Division plus the California teams or whatever.
The games against the Wild can get worse for the Jets.
No, literally. So Tucson, though, is
Mm.
not in their division and is
No.
not a Canadian team. They haven't played against Tucson in years. Like, this is not one of their, like, regular Rolodex opponents, whatever. So this could be a situation where, you come in and it ends up being a battle of the talent or whatever, as opposed to the battle of the systems or the battle of the details, whatever, because
Mhm.
the teams don't know each other as well. Obviously, the coaching staff is doing their job and looking into these teams, but it's very different when you don't have as much, firsthand exposure to the team. So I'm very interested to see how this goes against Tucson. I don't know anything about AHL schedule making. I don't know why this is a team they're playing against, but like, you know what? They get 2 days off, so maybe the boys are gonna go golfing in Scottsdale and have
Yeah.
a really nice time or something. So hopefully there could be some morale boost from getting to spend some time in Arizona with the boys. But yeah, I don't know. I'm hoping that they can pick it up over these next couple days against the Roadrunners.
I don't think we need to deep dive AHL schedule makers or criticize. I
I
have no
do
clue either.
actually. I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
I do.
Playing Tucson, what is this? No, I'm kidding. Whatever. Yeah, the Moose will take on the Tucson Roadrunners this week and look to bounce back because, like we outlined, and I'm with Lyss. Haven't had the chance to watch the Moose as closely as I would have liked to start this season yet, so I'm not going to make
It's
any
freaking Blue
sweeping.
Jays, man. They're
Yeah,
ruining
the
everything
Jays,
for
like
me.
it's tough. But I'm not going to make any sweeping takeaways on why it's been a slow start. But we'll look to see. We'll catch some Moose games over the next couple of weeks and maybe come back with a report.
Oh yeah.
And
Best believe it. When I have my opinions set up, like, you guys will hear them. You will
yes,
hear them.
exactly. So the Manitoba Moose, bit of a tougher start to the season. 1-4-1, 5 straight losses to begin this season. But let's get back to the Winnipeg Jets with a longtime segment here on WST Sunday Live, and that is trending up down. This is the segment where we outline one Winnipeg Jet who is trending up or down over the past week of play. We can't pick any players from last week. Last week, we chose Niederreiter and Stanley and Velarde and Fleury. Niederreiter and Stanley, I believe, were trending up. Velarde and Fleury were trending down. So those players are off the board. Let us know in the comments down below who's your pick for trending up, trending down, taking the past week of games into account. Lyss, I'll let you go first on this one. Who you got for trending up?
I feel like this might be a little bit of an easy pick here. I'm going to give my trending up to Josh Morrissey. He also got my
Nice.
hardest working Jet after last game on the WSD postgame reaction. And, you said this yourself earlier in the show here. The last couple of games, he's been the best Jet on the ice. Like, he's been so awesome. So it's only fitting that I think, one of their best players who's having one of his best stretches right now, I'm going to give my trending up to Josh.
Nice. I love it. I'm going to give mine and yeah, I see people in chat already. Jonathan Toews. It's a natural trending up. We wanted to wait a little bit. Again, I'm not here to say that he's, the savior of the Winnipeg Jets franchise or anything like that, but he's absolutely trending up as a player and he's looking better by the game. And when you look at the face-offs, I think that's an indication that the timing is really coming along for Jonathan Toews. 13 for 15, 87% in the dot on Friday night. And Lyss and I on WST Sunday Live have been long advocates for a 52% face-off number, meaning not much. But when you win 87% of your face-offs, that means something. And they had a goal come directly off of an offensive zone face-off win from Jonathan Toews. That was his goal. He's winning face-offs on the power play. He's looking better at 5-on-5. He's generating more chances. He's obviously defensively responsible and in the right spots, and the IQ is there. So I'm going to take Jonathan Toews. Had a great week and seems to be getting better by the game. Even in that Seattle game, when the Jets didn't really have much going, I thought Toews was going, and I actually thought he had some decent chances. So I'm going to take Jonathan Toews, looking better by the game, and that's great news for the Winnipeg Jets, who look to be getting back Adam Lowry, Cole Perfetti, and Dylan Sandberg soon here in the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to take Jonathan Toews, trending up. Who's your pick for trending down, Lyss?
Yeah, I'm going to pick a bit of a strange one and maybe one of the Winnipeg Sports Talk Sunday Live, our guys. I'm going to give Cole Koepke my trending down pick for the week. I think that the fourth line obviously got off to a raging hot start. And so it's the sort of thing where it's like the expectation suddenly became higher when the expectation wasn't super high to start. But I've just been a little bit less impressed by kind of that bottom line. And he's a guy that I think we thought had a little bit more upside than maybe some of the other players that he might be playing with and stuff like that. And I just haven't quite seen it. I still like a lot of the little things I'm seeing, and I still quite like this player. And my hope, though, is that, this Winnipeg Jets forward group is getting healthier.
Mhm.
Adam Lowry is projected to come back. Cole Perfetti is projected to come back. And this is a guy whose roster spot is completely at risk, right? Like, he's not someone who's locked into the lineup by any means. And I thought that he would be able to do a couple things kind of early in the season here to sort of cement his spot a little bit more. But I
Mhm.
think that, when players come back, he's fully at risk of being a healthy scratch. And I don't want that for him because I do like him. But I just haven't seen enough to kind of be like, this guy needs to be one of the 12 forwards playing in these games. So I'm going to give it to him for this week.
Sure. I think that's accurate and fair in terms of the way that he's played. He has been a big part of that penalty kill, which has been elite.
Yep.
He's a great skater, but again, at 5-on-5, I'm with you on that. My turning down is going to be Gustav Nyquist. I think it's safe to say, at least through a couple of games here, that the Jets won't be getting 75-point Gustav Nyquist from 2 seasons ago. I still think that, he's a player that is learning the system, new to the team, has had a million different line mates already to start this season, and is going to have new ones again when Cole Perfetti comes back and all of these things, has played with Lambert and Chibrikov. I still think he's getting kind of acclimatized to this team, to this system, to his line mates, but I just haven't seen a lot of offensive punch from Gustav Nyquist. He had a really good game a few weeks ago, the road game against the Islanders that was played at like noon. I thought that was his best game. He did a great job managing space on the power play. The second unit was great in that game as well. And he's strong on the power play on that second unit when he's got that extra space to move guys with his eyes and make strong passes to high danger spots. I just haven't seen that at 5-on-5 nearly enough. So I'm going to take Gustav Nyquist trending down. Still no goals through 8 games for him. I know he's more of a passer anyways, but I'm going to take Gustav Nyquist. Still, I know in the regular or in the preseason, we liked him as a little bit of a buy low candidate. I'm still kind of there on Gustav Nyquist, but definitely trending down from where maybe our expectations were coming into the season. So that was trending up, down. A lot of great picks in the chat. Thank you so much, everyone, for dropping your picks down below for trending up, down. And while you're down there, make sure you hit the like button. Lets YouTube know that we're putting out some great content here at Winnipeg Sports Talk, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss every single time we upload a video or we go live. So hit that notification bell, hit the like button. We would really appreciate it. And now let's get to our second segment. Right before we wrap the show list, this is one burning question. This is the part of the show where we open up the chat room to questions about the Winnipeg Jets, and we try and rapid fire through them as quickly as possible. So let us know in the comments down below. If you have a question regarding the Winnipeg Jets, drop it down below, and we'll try and rapid fire through as many as we can. Lyss, my one burning question to you: did you watch the Jays game last night? Bring it up in sadness.
I did watch the Jays game last night, and first of all, I had a dinner last night. So to start the game, I had my phone open on the score. First of all, okay, this is like a fun little like personality quiz. So like, where do you get your scores from for like sports games? Or I only have notifications on for the score. I have it on for the Jets app for the Moose, but I only get my live notifications from the score. Do you also do that?
I use the Real app. Have you heard of that?
No,
Real?
I haven't actually. Is it good?
It's exactly like the score.
Okay.
There's other things on it, but I don't use the other things on the app. I just use it as like a notification thing. And
Okay.
yeah, like I have the Jets on there. I have the 49ers, all my favorite teams, the Blue Jays, whatever. And they're quick. Like I was watching the game last night, and Will Smith hits the homer to go up 2-1, and I'm watching the ball like land on the TV, and I'm like, oh, they scored. It's 2-1, and like Yamamoto's dealing. This game's probably done. Yeah, buzz. I'm like, what? Like that is, yeah, it's insane. But anyways.
No, I use the score, and so like yesterday, it's like I have my Columbus Blue Jackets game live notifications on. I have my Bomber ones that are just wrapping up and whatever. Anyways, but the score has an unbelievable pitch sim, so you can see where all the pitches are going, what every single, and it's like it shows what side the batter is on and all these different things. So I felt like I was watching the game for the first 2 innings before I actually turned it on, and then I was depressed afterwards. But it was too bad. But oh my God, what an insane duel of pitching performances, and it was sad that. Similar kind of situation as how it went in the Mariners series, that Kevin Gausman had to go out that way in his game, because it's like he was so good too. He was electric. Like how many first pitch outs and all these different things. Like he was so good. And every time I see him being like, yeah, like I wear that game, that's on me. I'm like, no, like Kevin, you're perfect to me. But yeah, it was a battle of the pitchers there, and obviously Yamamoto kind of comes out on top. I saw some people in the chat earlier.
Unreal.
mentioning about Yamamoto, also who is on the Utah Mammoth. Calgary Yamamoto, I think I don't think he's actually playing right now. I think he's like healthy right now. But every time I see his last name, I'm not thinking of one of the best pitchers in the entirety of baseball. I'm thinking of a former Edmonton Oilers fourth liner. But,
yeah. Well, actually, Kyler Yamamoto came up last night at my little watch party with my friends. I was like, isn't that a hockey player too? Yeah, it is. Like some fourth liner. One of the many players that they've tried on McDavid's wing that has just not worked. But anyways, the Blue Jays game, yes, that was honestly one of the best pitching performances I've ever seen, like, in my life. I know, like, it's the World Series complete game, so that's not really like a hot take. But man, the amount of times that the Blue Jays were at 2 strikes and they would just freeze at whatever Yamamoto threw was ridiculous. Like, they looked lost up there with in full counts, 1-2, 2-2, whatever it was. Yamamoto could throw a curveball right down the middle. They would freeze up. They could throw a fastball high. They would freeze up. Like, they were just guessing with Kyler Yamamoto. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound. Kyler Yamamoto should have pitched for the Dodgers. I think it would have gone great for the Blue Jays. Yeah,
I would have loved that.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto, incredible game. And if the Jays have to face him again later in the series, I'm terrified. I'm absolutely terrified. So hopefully they can get back at it. Monday night, Game 3, Mad Max Scherzer is on the mound. I don't feel great about that either. I know he did well in Seattle, and he's got the passion, that's for sure.
Just ride the vibes. Hopefully you can get ride the vibes all the way to the end.
Yeah, and I know Hustler was at the game yesterday, made it out there. Hope he still had a great time. I saw him catch up with the Coolbeck guys, Jake and Pat, before the game, and I'm sure the vibe around the city was just electric. So unfortunate result for the Blue Jays. Yoshinobu Yamamoto absolutely dealing and made for kind of a pitcher's duel and a fun game if you like defense and pitching. But let's get to the one burning question. James Robinson coming in hot, pancakes or waffles?
I'm going to go waffles.
You're going to go waffles? I'm going to go pancakes. That's a bad take. What brand coffee does Lyss buy? This is a good one.
Oh, no. You guys are going to hate this.
Oh, no? It's not good?
No name.
Wow.
No name. Wow. I am balling on a budget, you guys. I'm sorry. I buy no name medium roast.
Nice. Medium roast. Okay.
But at work, I use these Tim's caramel Nespresso pods. I use 2, make 2 little espressos and add a little bit of lactose-free milk and a little bit of vanilla syrup. So good. And I make myself one of those. So my 2 coffees a day, make my at-home no name medium roast in my French press, and then I put it in the fridge and add a little bit of unsweetened vanilla almond milk to that, and the way she goes. And yeah, that's my coffee.
Nice. I get Stoke iced coffee. I don't know if people
that stuff is so good.
Yeah,
it's so good. I used to love getting that, and I would love getting the Starbucks ones, the cold brews, whatever. And sometimes I get them if I know I'm going to be like in a rush for a period of time, whatever. But like the marginal cost, I'm like, I got to knock this down a little bit here because my grocery budget here, it suffers when my coffee connoisseur level is too high. So
yeah. It's like you said, it's easy because if I'm going to practice or something and I'm in a rush, it's iced coffee and you just off you go. It's good to go. Let's get to some.
Can I just say, I need to expose you super quickly, guys. I need to tell you guys this diabolical story that happened a couple weeks ago. We were at Moose Production Day,
right? Yes.
And it does involve that. You know where I'm going with this.
I know exactly where you're going with this.
Needed some water, and so I brought my water bottle. I was like, I'm going to get some water. Do you want some? And you're like, oh, thank you so much. So Connor gives me his coffee mug. He's like, yeah, just go put some water in. And I was like, do you want me to rinse this out? He's like, no. And I was like, what? And so, yeah, your stoked cold brew.
Yeah.
Actually, it might have been hot coffee or something.
Could have been some coffee flavored water, Lyss.
I was like, you're crazy. No. Yeah. Any vessel that ever has had coffee in it, you can't put anything else in it ever again. And it's just going to taste like coffee. Unless you like that. Unless you're a freak. Unless you're a sicko. But
yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's definitely not ideal, but like, what else am I going to do? I'm bringing coffee.
Bring another water bottle. That's what I
Nah,
did. I had my coffee cup
that's
and
too
I
much.
had
That's
my
too much
water
work.
bottle.
It's way too much work.
I also have a Diet Coke water bottle that I only put Diet Coke in. I have my water
Wow.
bottles for all these different things. Yeah.
That's intense. I didn't know I was talking to the water bottle
Oh yeah. Every time
connoisseur
my
here. Yeah.
dad was so excited when I moved out because he's like, I can get rid of all your stupid water bottles. Every time I would come home, he's like, "Did you bring another cup?" I'm like, "Of course I brought another cup. I love cups."
Exactly. Exactly. Let's get to some actual hockey questions. As fun as the other ones are, and we appreciate them. When Lowry and Perfetti return, who gets sent down to the Moose list?
What do we have for numbers here? I think because I don't expect any of them to stay unless they have to. Like I think they'll send down pretty much everyone that
Mm.
would go because right now they're rocking with 13 forwards, correct? Or are they 14?
E-
14.
14. Yes, there's two
I think
scratches
they
right
have
now. So
14 right now because they have two
14.
scratches. So
Yeah,
two players will come back. Yeah, I think all three of them could
all
get sent
three of
down.
them.
I wouldn't
Okay,
I
yeah.
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that as well. I think in terms of like a mini power poll of who is most likely, tell me if you disagree, List, but I'd say Lambert's number one, most likely to go
Yeah,
down,
correct.
then Chibrikov, then
Yeah,
Ford. Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
I would say so, but I also think it kind of depends a little bit too on like who is coming back from the injury. I think that,
Sure.
like Adam Lowry coming back, like it's a bit more depth, and then Perfetti comes back, it's a bit more higher end stuff, like depending on the timelines there. But I would say, like objectively, regardless of who's coming back, that is the order I would go with as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Waiters asks, will the Jets change the start time of the game next Saturday? That's when game 6. No, that would be game 7 for the World Series, I
Oh, you
believe.
guys are optimistic. Oh, you guys are optimistic.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think like game 1 they just updated people on the score and then hosted a watch party
Mhm.
after. I think they would just do the same thing.
And especially because game one,
Or no,
I
wait,
guess
next
you don't
Saturday he's
really.
talking about the Bomber game. My bad. My bad. He's
Oh,
talking about the
oh,
Bomber.
oh,
I
oh,
was
oh,
just
oh.
realizing that. He's talking about the Bomber game. Sorry, waiters. The Bombers, yeah, they're playing at 1, but it's not here. I don't think so. I still don't think like it would be
Play at
nice
one, and the
for
Bombers
me. I
and
would
the
like
Jets
that.
play.
The Bombers
How
play
much
at
time?
1 and the Jets play at 2.
Ooh, yeah, that's tough. I don't know that they will. Especially because on those Saturday games, oftentimes when there are earlier starts, it's because there's like some American slate of things or whatever. I think it might be a bit of a challenge to
Mhm.
to get that started. I don't know.
Yeah, the CFL, like if they didn't make the change last week, it would have been 2-2. But the CFL made changes for in anticipation
Mm,
of a Jays game. Like they moved it up 1 hour each, so it's at 1 and I believe 4 instead of
okay,
2 and 5.
interesting.
But anyways, um, yeah, I don't know. I can't see the Jets moving that time. I would
Especially because it's
love,
not at home, like you said. If it was at home, it would be
yeah,
maybe a bit of a different story. They'd really have to gun for it. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I would like it. I would love to be able to, be at home and watch the game with people and then head out to the Jets game, but I could see them maybe updating people on the score like they did for the Blue Jays game. I don't know. There's definitely some overlap there when it comes to the Bombers and the Jets next Saturday. And I will say, if you want some more Bombers coverage, we won't really deep dive yesterday's game against the Alouettes because that was a preseason game. But Schnitzy and I are going to have the WST Bombers report tomorrow morning. It's going to basically be a full preview of the Bombers who are taking on the Alouettes Saturday at 1 o'clock. Full preview. Do the Bombers have a chance against the Alouettes, who are, coming into the playoffs as one of the best teams in the league? We will discuss it all on the WST Bombers report tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss the WST Bombers report. Liz, that's going to do it for one burning question. There were a lot in there on, the Bombers, time changes, the Blue Jays. A lot of people talking about my hat, saying I'm wearing a proper hat. John saying go Dodgers. That's brave. That's brave coming into the chat with go Dodgers. I know Remus was trolling with a Dodgers hat on the show this week. I love it. I love it. And
JT's
yes,
a Dodgers fan too, eh?
sorry.
JT's a Dodgers fan too.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He is a Dodgers fan. So we were making fun of him when the Jets game was happening the other night, Friday night, and the Jays were up by 1 million. That was very fun. But yeah, it was Jamie Thomas is probably going to have some more words for us today as the Dodgers even up the series. But oh well. The Jays will get back at it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and that'll be good. Hopefully they bounce back. Liz, anything else you want to say on today's show before we wrap and head to the rink? I know you're not going to be there today on the Sunday afternoon game, but what are you kind of watching for / expecting as the Jets take on the Mammoth, and any final predictions, if you will?
Yeah, no, I think another, like we said before, 3 games in 4 days here. So I'm hoping that the Jets can come out with a little bit of offensive juice and some excitement and some fast feet, even though they've played a lot of games in the last couple of days here. But look, this is a game that I don't know how much you can really dictate what happens in this game. This is kind of Utah is what Utah is. So I'm fascinated to see. I think the Jets are a really versatile group. I think they have a lot of tricks up their sleeves, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they kind of choose to tackle this game with, right? And looking to see if they can make enough adjustments to what they do to beat Utah at their own game, or if they're able to, with last change and all these different things, make Utah play their game too. Because in my head, it's not even an option, but maybe it is. So I'm just really looking forward to seeing which of these teams gets to kind of put their best foot forward today, because I don't anticipate it will be both. And, Utah is red hot. So I think that it would be really awesome if this is the first game that we see from the Jets this year, that it's like, wow, what a full 60 by last year's President's winning trophy winning team. This is a really good group, all that sort of stuff. I would love to see that happen today.
Yeah, I agree. I've said many times, it's a very exciting team, Utah, and they're not just exciting and high event. They're also winning games. They're 6 straight wins, 7-2-0 to start the season. I brought up the standings earlier. This is a matchup between the top 2 teams, 2 of the top 3 teams in both the Central and the West. So it's going to be a very fun one today down at Canada Life Center. 5:00 is the start. NFL slate today, a lot of things going on. Bombers report tomorrow morning with Zach and I previewing the Bombers playoff matchup against the Montreal Alouettes. You won't want to miss that. Enjoy the Blue Jays games this week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and hopefully throughout as the Jays hopefully win the World Series. At least that's, me with the Jays hat. I'm speaking from that lens. But enjoy the game down at Canada Life Center today. And thank you everyone for joining us on WST Sunday Live this morning at 9 a.m., every single 9 a.m. throughout the Winnipeg Jets season. We'll talk to you all next Sunday right here on WST Sunday Live. Have a good one, everyone.